Hello there and welcome to Luminar NEO All Sliders Explained, the show where we describe and explain you every single slider in this powerful photo editing application. Now if you've never been here before, my name is Jakub and I'm a creator and founder of Clever Photographer. Now before we're going to start, I have a few things I want to cover. First of all, at the end of the video, we're going to give you our own and very popular Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet. So stay until the end so you can get your own copy. The second, if you want to follow us along, make sure you head into the description, follow the link there and get your sample files before we're going to start. If you don't own Luminar NEO, you can also follow the link in the description and use our own discount code Clever Photographer. That way you get additional 20% off and you can get your own copy. And finally, we want to ask you to like and comment on our videos and also follow our channel so we can keep creating content like this. In today's video tutorial, we're gonna be looking at the ultra powerful Face AI tool here in Luminar NEO. Now there are many sliders we need to go through. However, first of all, the Face AI tool here in Luminar NEO uses a very powerful face recognition technology that allows you to selectively target and enhance a subject's face, eyes and mouth. Now we are here in Luminar NEO, we are in the edit module and we're gonna bring our attention towards the portrait section of our toolbar. We already covered the portrait bokeh and now we're moving our attention towards the Face AI. Now let's slide it all the way up so we can see all the different sliders and let's explain them one by one. Now to start with, we have two sliders here. Face slide and slim face. Now the face slide adjusts the lighting of a face without impacting the rest of the scene. It emulates a flash or reflector aimed at the face. So let's jump in and we're gonna push the slider slowly and we can see how we're increasing the light and the exposure and the brightness on the face. So all the way until we see the difference. Now there are two things I want to remind you here. Number one, make sure you push the sliders as much as you want to see the difference and understand what they do. Number two, to reset the slider, all you need to do is to double click on its name and it resets to 0 or its original value. Moving on to the next slider, the slim face. This uses a technology to realistically contour and shape a face. Make the face proportionally smaller and naturally slim, achieving more attractive result in your portrait. It also is useful to correct lens distortion on a face. So let's have a look at it. Again, by default is on 0, and when we push it, you can see how slowly the face is getting slimmer and slimmer until all the way when it gets almost unnaturally slim. I don't know if it actually looks like the original lady. However, you can go as far as this. Also, three more things to add here. On the top, once you start to use the slider, you get three additional options here. One is the before and after, and that's the little eye icon. When you click on this, it shows you the before and after specifically for this tool. The second one is the tool for masking. And the final one is to reset the tool, and this button resets all the edits you've done within this specific tool. So that was the slim face. You can play around with it, see what works the best for you, and then we can slowly move into the eyes section. Now in this section we have a 1 drop-down box and 8 sliders. So let's cover every one of them. Starting with the iris drop-down box. Now we have multiple options here, and once again it's probably quite self-explanatory. However, this drop-down box allows you to change the color or the overall look of the iris. You can choose between blue, brown, green, gray, hazel, honey or mint, or you can go for something a little bit more exotic as a cut or all. So let's have a look. Obviously the lady has blue eyes, but we can change them to brown, and I think that is very cool. Green, that is even nicer. Then we can do gray, or you can do something a little bit more exotic, as I said earlier, the cut, which looks a little bit scary, or an all. How about the mint? The mint also looks very nice. So when you go back, if you select the original, obviously the original irises will stay and there will be no changes to that. Now moving on to the sliders. Now starting with the iris visibility. This slider allows you to adjust the intensity of the iris setting. Increasing its value makes the iris adjustments more intense, while decreasing it allows more of the natural iris color to show through. Now the idea is very clear. I should go into the iris, maybe change it into the green, and now by moving the slider, I should be able to mix the two colors between each other. But if I have to be very honest, I haven't really managed to make this slider work. Because no matter what I do with the slider, there is absolutely no change to the eye whatsoever. So we leave the visibility for the moment as it doesn't work. We jump back into the iris, move it into original, and move on to next slider. This time the iris flare. The iris flare adds a flare to the lower portion of the iris. Adding flare can make darker irises brighter and more visible. Now I think to understand some of these sliders, it would be quite beneficial for us to zoom in, so we'll do that. And now we're gonna try this iris flare. So let's push it again all the way, and you can see how the bottom part of an eye is getting brighter. It really works quite well. Let's have a look at before and after, and it's quite cool. Now obviously there is already a source of light in the eye, so it wouldn't really make that much sense to use it here. However, at least you know how it works and what it's for. So that was the iris flare. Also, the next slider is called enlarge eyes. The enlarge eyes makes a squinting eye more pronounced. To enlarge a subject's eye, increase the value of the slider. Now let's see how it works. So again, we're gonna push the slider really all the way, which really makes very unnatural result. However, if you have experienced that before, there is a certain distance between the model and a camera where the eyes become quite small, and this slider can help to make it a little bit more natural. So of course you can make something super unnatural. However, for adjusting the distortion of the lens, this slider is perfect. Moving on to the next slider, the eye whitening. Use this slider to whiten the pupils to enhance the eyes. So very clearly, when we push the slider, you can see how the eyes are getting brighter to the point when, once again, it's not natural at all. However, something like this, I think would help the portrait altogether. So you can see the before and after. Moving on the next slider, eye enhancer. The eye enhancer enhances a person's eye to make them sharper and more expressive. Now, look closely into the eye as I'm gonna slide the slider, let's say half now, and you can see how it already improved. I like it so much more. And when I push it even further, you can see we're getting a little bit of glow and more contrast in them. Once again, let's have a look at before and after. Again, lots of these sliders, you really want to be careful of what you're doing with them. However, I think the result, when you do it in balance, can be quite impressive. So I would usually go somewhere around 20, 30, and it would really push the eyes even further. Moving into the next one, red eye removal. We don't have a red eye here, but I will show you later how to use this. But still, to cover it, the red eye removal fixes the red eye problem caused by flash. So we'll cover that in a moment. Now moving to the next slider, the dark circles removal. This slider allows you to easily remove circles or shadows below the eye. We don't have many of them on this image, however, let's still try. And when I push it all the way and do the before and after, you can see how it does a little bit of adjustment to the image. Once again, I will show you on some other photos where it's gonna be a little bit more visible. And the final slider in this section is called Improve Eyebrows, and this slider allows you to thicken and darken eyebrows for stronger framing of the eyes. Very simple. When I push the slider, you can see how the eyebrows are getting thicker and darker. We can see the before and after here. And to be honest, for the natural result, I would stick somewhere in the lower part of the slider. Now that was the eyes. And now we're going to move into the mouth section of this tool. So for that, we're going to slide down with our screen and we're going to be focusing on the lips and the mouth. So the first slider here is called Lips Saturation. Lips Saturation slider allows you to enhance the color of the lips. Now there is not much saturation here, however, let's still try the slider. Lip saturation all the way, and then again to see it, we can see the before and after. You can see we're getting a little bit of extra color. Moving into the lips redness. Lips redness allows you to increase the redness of the lips. Again, we're gonna push it and see if we can get a little bit more red out of the lips. Now it's getting really unnatural, but still at least you understand what we're trying to do and what is this slider used for. Moving on the next slider, the lips darkening. This slider lowers the luminosity of the lips, so it makes them much darker. So again, we can push it until they get really, really dark. And finally, we have the teeth whitening. However, there are no teeth here, so we're not going to be able to see it here, but I have another picture where you will be clearly able to see it. But to still cover it, this slider brightens all smiles in the portrait. So that's it for the sliders. Let's just zoom out. And now I have a few images where I want to show you how to use the different sliders. We still have 2 sliders we haven't used at all, so we're going to do that as well. And for all of this, we need to jump back into the catalog and start from there. Now we are in Luminar's NEO catalog, and as you can see, I have 4 additional images here. This is a good time to remind you that if you want to follow me along and do the same edit as I do on this video, all you need to do is to jump into the video description, follow the link there that will bring you into our Dropbox, and you can simply download the pictures from there. Now the first picture we're going to be working on is this one right here, as I want to show you how the red eye removal works. So we're going to bring it back to the edit module and going back to our face AI, making sure that we can see all of this. And once again, we are looking at the red eye removal slider. Coming back to our portrait, you can see the red eyes in it. Quite often this happens when you're using a flash, and sometimes it can be a bit tricky to remove it. So here in Luminar NEO, all you need to do is to use one slider. So let's try it. When we push it, as you can see, slowly, the more we go, the more we're reducing the red eye there. And when we go all the way, it disappears completely. So this is the easiest way to remove your red eyes from your portraits. And you can just use the red eye removal slider in a face AI. Now the next image I want to show you is this one right here, as I want to show you how the teeth whitening slider works. So coming back to the edit module, and we're doing the same thing. We're going into our face AI, making sure everything is nice and visible. And we are looking at our very last slider, the teeth whitening. For this, let's zoom in to at least 100% so we can see the mouth and the teeth. And as you can see, they are pretty white, but let's see if we can help them with the teeth whitening. So once again, sliding all the way, and let's see the before and after, and it does pretty good job in improving the whitening of the teeth. As always, I wouldn't go as far, maybe halfway would be enough, but you can clearly see the difference. So those were all the sliders now. We have tried and tested all of them. So now we can go ahead and see how we can use it in some more realistic situations. Now to show you how this tool works on more realistic situations, we have 2 more images here, and we're gonna start with a lady. Going back into the edit module and coming into our face AI tool. Let's have a look at it. So lovely lady standing somewhere in a harbor. Let's start by the face light, maybe just a little bit, so we can add a little bit of brightness to her face. Slim face, we could add just a little bit. Of course it works, as you can see, but maybe just a little bit to leave it nice and natural. Moving into the iris, can we change the iris to something like blue? We certainly can. We can also change it to something like green, and let's leave it green. Enlarge eyes. I think her eyes are big enough. I don't think we need to do any adjustments to them. However, we can add a little bit of eye whitening. Definitely something like this. Now eye enhancer, we can push it a little bit, but as she's quite far, is not as visible. There are no red eyes, but we can definitely remove some of the dark circles, definitely under her eyes. So let's do that by pushing the slider, and you can really see how it very gently removed the dark eyes and dark circles. Finally, improve eyebrows. Her eyebrows are nice and dark, so we don't need to do that, but if we would want to, we could push it just a little bit. Then we move into our mouth. Let's have a look at the lip saturation. Maybe not so much. I think I'm quite happy with what I see, but lips redness, definitely we can add a little bit of that. Maybe a little bit of lips darkening. And there are no teeth, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's have a look at the before and after, and I think the result is quite cute. Now you can see what you want to do with the picture. Of course, it's completely up to you. You can make it as unrealistic as you want, or you can keep the sliders all the way down and just make very subtle changes. It's completely up to you. However, I really want to show you what you can do to your images. And to finish this tutorial, we're gonna be working on the couple here, just to see how this tool gonna work in a situation when there is more than one person. So we're going back to our edit module. We still working on our face AI tool, and we're gonna start by the face light. So let's have a look. We push the face light, and as you can see, the face light get actually applied to both of the faces. So that's quite cool. We don't need to add too much because there is lots of light on their face already, but maybe just a little bit. Now slim face, let's see if it's gonna work and what it's gonna do. So by using the slim face, what it does, it actually only slim the face of the lady. It does it quite well. However, I'm not sure if that's how I would expect it to work, but still it works. However, it only works on the lady. So we leave that alone. Moving on to the eyes, the iris, let's change it to blue, and that works. And let's zoom in, and it changes for both of them. That's cool. So blue or green or honey. So it changes on both of the models, and I think that's probably how I would expect it to work. Let's bring it back to original, and we're gonna come into our iris flare. Do we need to add some? Probably not. There is a flare in their eyes already. Enlarge eyes. When I enlarge the eyes, again, enlarge both sets of eyes. So that's good to know. Eye whitening, maybe just a little bit. Again, you can see it works on both of the eyes. Eye enhancer, yes, we can push it a little bit. A red eye removal, there are no red eyes. Dark circle, maybe just a little bit. Does it remove it on both of them? Yes, it does. So as you can see, most of the sliders work on both set of faces, which is really cool. I think that's how I would expect it to work. Improve eyebrows. So yes, this works quite well. Perfect. Now moving on to the mouth. We have the lip saturation, so we can push that a little bit, not crazily. Lips redness, definitely. Lips darkening, maybe just a little bit. And finally with the teeth, again, let's zoom in, and I would just push it a little bit. So it applies the tool and the effects to both of the faces, and I think that's what I would expect from the tool. However, if you would like to apply this tool just to one of the faces, all you would need to do is to use the masking. So for this, we can just simply click on this Add Mask tool here and make sure that we are on a paint mask. Make sure that we're using the Add Mask and Paint tool here, and then you just adjust the size. So we make it a little bit bigger. And at the moment, the tool works for the entire image for both of the faces. However, the moment I will click on the image, it will only start to be applied in the positions where I'm gonna brush with the brush. So I will click on the face of the lady, and now I will just paint over her face. So all the edits we've done will only get applied to her face. So for example, if I go back to our iris here and change it into the blue, you will see that it only changes on her face. Now, but how would we edit the face of the gentleman? Very simply, you would close the tool, and that would be moved into the edits here. So we have it here. This is the face of the lady. And now we would go back to the tools. We would bring our face AI. Now we would work on the face of the gentleman, even though it would be applying to both faces. So we would increase the brightness, slim the face, no, because that works on the lady. We would change the eyes to, let's say, green. We would add some iris flare, maybe for him enlarge the eye a little bit. We can add some eye whitening. Maybe we can enhance the eyes, remove some dark circles, improve eyebrows, and I would leave the mouth for him alone. And in this case, we would do exactly the same thing. We would go into our Add Mask and make sure that we are on a paint mask, make sure we're using the brush, just adjust the size. And this time, instead of painting on her face, we're gonna paint on his face. So by doing that, we only applying the edits to the face of the gentleman. So now, as you can see, when I zoom in, something like 100, you can see that she has a blue eyes and she has the edits from the first tool, and he has the green eyes and he has the edits from the second tool. So this is the way of how you could apply the face AI to multiple different faces and use multiple different edits on each one of them. Now coming back for the recap, making sure that we once again run through everything we covered today. We were talking about Face AI tool here in Luminar NEO, being part of the portrait section here in tools. So once again, you can adjust the brightness and luminance of the face by using the face light. You can slim the face if you would like to using the slim face slider. Then you have a full section of eyes where you can change the color of the eyes. You can then also add some iris flare. You can enlarge the eyes or leave them alone. You can add some eye whitening. You can enhance the eyes by adding some sharpness and contrast into them. You can remove some red eyes if you have them on your image. You can also remove the dark circles. And finally, on your eyes, you can also improve the eyebrows to make them thicker and darker. You can also play around with the mouth, where you can add some lip saturation. You can add some lips redness. You can make the lips darker. And finally, you can improve the teeth by using the teeth whitening. So now it's time to get your own Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet. All you have to do is to head to our website cleverphotography.com/luminargift and get it right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun and I hope you learned something new. Please don't forget to follow our channel and also check out our other videos covering Luminar NEO. For today, thank you very much for watching. My name was Jakub and I can't wait to see you in the next one.